Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, June 14th. And this is the AgYield War Room. Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. As always, if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area, and we'll be sure to get to it during the show. Overnight markets had July corn down 3 at 455.5. July soybeans were down 4 at 1185.5. And July Chicago wheat was down 5 at 615. No export sales announcements here this morning. We kind of broke our streak. We were on a couple-day streak there, seeing some sales. RMA was out with their yields here this morning. So I guess to kick it off, Dustin, maybe just a few thoughts as we wrap up the week. Nothing really in the way of fresh news, but we'll take her into the weekend here.
Yeah, Dan, thanks. So, it's interesting, NAS versus RMA data. I think Farm Docs published some differences there. RMA a lot of times comes in higher. But that was due out today, and apparently it was released this morning. So anyone that had county-based policies is going to want to check with their insurance agent and just see where that RMA data came in at, because that's going to be the derivative that impacts that policy. We had a huge drop in price last year from the spring price 591 to the fall price of 488 on corn. Not as big of a drop on beans there, but for corn especially, there was a revenue loss from price alone. And then, many of these county-based policies are price times yield, whether that's MP or ECO or even SCO. And ARP policies, of course, the legacy county policies. All of those are going to be, working off of that data and impacting that payment. So if you've been waiting on, that county side of that payment of what that comes out to be, today's the day that should determine that. So market, I haven't had a chance to look at the data, how it compares to NAS or, what it implies, because it could be technically a pretty good indicator for the market too, where yields came out last year, and the last stocks report came in below estimates, right? So if that might be a little bit of a cue to the market as we get to the June 1st stocks number at the end of this month as well. So
yeah, definitely. Jace, we were looking at some weather here this morning. Looks like, there's water in the forecast for that kind of 6 to 10 day period, but they're still riding the heat, so it's going to be warm.
Yeah, not a lot of change in the models. The European's been on the drier side, kind of hit and miss depending on where these different systems set up over the next couple of weeks. GFS has a lot wetter. European shifted a little to the wetter side, from what I can tell. The heat's still going to be coming in, and so these models will be kind of moving back and forth here until they figure it out.
It'd be something to look at on Sunday. I mean, we're starting to get into that time of year where that Sunday night, if the model flips, could be an interesting open.
Yeah, I would think so, right? And then you're starting to look further and further out, right, into more important growing season, right? So we're 2 weeks out, gets us to almost the beginning of July, right? So you're going to start peeking into the first week of July in pollination kind of time frame.
Yes.
So yeah, absolutely, right? We're about to be starting to trade some of that data.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was talking to one of our clients last night, and they had some March planted corn. This is down close to Owensboro, Kentucky. And some of their early planted fields of corn they're starting to shoot tassels. So
yeah,
I mean, puts it in perspective. It's coming pretty quick.
It is amazing, isn't it? I mean, yeah, there's nothing there, and then it's small, and then all of a sudden it just blows up, and you get corn that's 6 foot tall. So
yeah. It's going to come quick. I mean, it's hard to believe we're already in the middle of June. It's going to be 4th of July before we blink.
Right. Yeah, head high by the 4th of July, right? So
yeah.
Anyway.
I think we've got all that kind of weather volatility in front of us, unless, of course, temps moderate and it just rains completely. And you factor in that we have options going off the board a week from now. There's a lot of open interest in the July contracts, 20 higher, 20 lower. And you get up to first placement, then first notice day, and then you have this big end of the month report. So I think that the last week of June is going to be, there's going to be a lot of things going on, both fundamentally from weather reports. I don't think people have had a real tremendous concern of May, June weather after what happened last year. And then a lot of mechanical things in the market where people sort of have to put their cards down on the table. So I think it's going to be maybe a wild ride for a little bit here in the next 2 or 4 weeks.
Well, and you're starting to see it, Ben. You brought it up before the show, and I think it's worth noting. I mean, there was heavy volumes, in like the D's corn contract yesterday. I mean, we didn't see much of a change in open interest, up 9,300 in corn and 5,700 in beans, but the appetite for this market is kind of coming back to us. We're seeing some moves. We're moving around here a little bit, and obviously that can present itself with some opportunities if we're staying on top of it. So
well, and this is my personal opinion is that the path to meet USDA assumptions is a lot narrower road than to miss them. And I don't know, that's my personal opinion. A lot of things have to work out just right, including corn acreage number plus and hitting a very lofty yield goal. So I just think there's a lot of things in front of us still. So
yeah, and I wanted to kind of touch on this weather a little bit. If we go over to the Crop Profit website just to kind of point out some of the differences of the models. So this is actually a nice platform to do that. This is the 8 to 14 days. This is June 21st to June 27th. You can see on a national production weighted by crop, corn is looking at 6.5 degrees above normal temps in that week. The 1 day change was just slightly down. You can see where the cooling happened from the prior day forecast. But overall, very hot and quite dry as well. You go to the GFS and it doesn't look nearly as threatening. So when you hear kind of differences in forecasts, some people say, it's temperature's cooled, or it's not going to be as hot as they're projecting. Sometimes that's just people looking at different, the difference between the GFS and the European model. So a good thing to note is the European model has been a lot more accurate over time, and that's generally the one that we will follow. But some of those organic modelers that we subscribe to and things like that, they'll talk about the key differences between the two models. And but just something to note is there's going to be a bit of discrepancy, I think, as we get into that 2 week, the lower confidence forecast. How does that shape up as we go through this weekend? I think that's going to be a big thing for Sunday night trade and Monday morning as well.
Well, and you get into this stuff too. I mean, the temperature is one thing too, but we're going to be really closely looking at observed precip, right? I mean, you're going to have to see what did everybody get and where was it? Where was the coverage? That's going to be huge.
Yes, for sure.
Well, very good. Guys, let's talk a little bit of cattle here, Ryland, as we go into the end of the week. Kind of put a bow on that market. What do you got for us?
Well, we saw a little bit of higher cash trade, very light so far, but it sounds like it was really starting to pick up at around 186 on the south. So it's about $1 higher from the previous week. So, we're just kind of chopping around here. Futures, they had this really big drop early on and then just snapped right back. So we saw kind of similar action, just the inverse of that in the hog market as well. So, it just seems like we're going to keep cash pretty firm right now. And we were kind of concerned that beef was going to be making a little bit of a seasonal top here, but it seemed like we were kind of freakishly higher yesterday. So that kind of went against what everybody started to feel yesterday, trying to pick the top, because choice was up another 71 cents. So the fundamental news is definitely a lot better than I think most people thought. And that's why it just seems like there's a little bit of underlying support to the market right now. So we'll see if there's any big surprises. Once again, another headwind is just the fact that dressed deer weights were up 4 pounds from the previous week. So we're still dealing with some really heavy cattle, but it seems like the Packers trying to balance that out still, just with their pace of kill and just what they're paying for cash. So as of right now, we expect cash to stay pretty firm going into the end of the week, and maybe we can see a little bit more follow through support after yesterday's kind of little recovery.
Retail beef still feels expensive, Ryland. Steaks and chops and
it certainly is.
Everything still feels real expensive at the butcher right now.
It is, and that's likely not to change. There's a long time lag. Even if we started to see beef prices come down, it's going to be a long time since we see that kind of pass through onto the consumer. And it doesn't look like it's likely to change anytime soon until we see a really big major setback, I think, on wholesale. And that just has not happened yet.
Yeah, so there is a lag on that. So I mean, is that something you look out into like winter time, or I mean, what's your forecast there? Hard to tell.
I mean, like, this is the time where we typically top wholesale seasonally, but like the problem with retail is it comes down to retail margins and what they want to pass on to the customer. And there's always going to be this relationship between, hey, we can charge X amount for beef versus chicken versus pork. So whatever that formula is, that's what they're going to follow. We've been dealing with the price of retail beef, if you look at a chart just over the past 10 years, has very little setbacks. So we've never really seen the retail market break in probably the past 10 years. I mean, maybe a couple cents here and there, but that's why there's so much focus on the features. What's on sale? Some cuts go on sale, some cuts go up in the next week. So, I mean, it's just going to be variable, between the cuts, between the ground. Right now, the ground beef market seems to be really what's holding up the world. We need to see it, I think, overall, probably need to see 90s and all the ground beef products really start to fall off their highs in order to see some better prices in retail.
All right. Well, I thought that was worth noting as we go into 4th of July holiday.
I want cheap beef too, Dan. I really do.
We love our beef.
I was gonna say it's like my property taxes; they just never go down.
Just never go down. Yeah, beef and property taxes, two certainties.
Then you get reassessed and they go higher. So.
Yeah.
All right, it's Friday. It's the most fun day of the week. Bri, what do you got for us, man?
Hey, thanks, Dan. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Father's Day weekend to all the dads out there as well. A little history on Father's Day began in 1910 in the state of Washington when Sonota Dodd wanted to honor her father, who was an actual Civil War veteran and raised 6 children on his own after his wife passed after childbirth. It didn't come official, though, as a holiday until 1972 when Nixon signed into law a national holiday as for fathers. The most commonly purchased item for fathers is a tie. I think I speak for most fathers out there. Bypass the tie. We'll go for some golf. Anything golf related would be a better gift than a tie. So.
Or ground beef.
Yeah, there you go. Nice steak. Yeah, we'll take it. A steak and a beer. On the Hallmark side of things, we do still take the back seat. We end up in 4th place as purchases of cards right ahead of Flag Day, which never knew was a big purchasing day of cards, which, by the way, Flag Day is today. So fly the stars.
We're competing directly with Flag Day.
Yes. Yes. The stars and stripes. You got to fly them proud today. So, and I will lead you off with a dad joke. You guys ready?
Let's hear it.
Where do surfers learn to surf?
Where?
At boarding school.
Oh, man.
Now I got something for the little ones today.
That would be spread.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah, there's a bad joke for you. So
slow news day. I told everybody it's a slow news day. Thanks, Bri. Happy Father's Day to everybody. I hope everybody has a great weekend. It should be nice and warm and nice for most areas there. So thanks for that, Bri. Every day that the markets are open, we're streaming live on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, 8:15 Central Time. We'll be back with you Monday. And hope, like I said, everybody has a great Father's Day. And we look forward to talking to you soon.